James, Leondra again. I'm so happy that we're doing this one more time.
Yep.
I'm so excited about your business. And as you start your business, I'm pretty sure that it's really hard sometimes to get all the money, all the budget, dealing with expenses, and how to support that business financially.
Mhm.
So, what do you do? How do you do that?
So we have a few like side hustles that we do. We do Instacart's the main one, and DoorDash is another one that we've used. We're always looking for side hustles as well. We're seeing a lot of stuff come out. There's one called Dolly, for instance, where it's predominantly for, or where we see it at mostly is on Facebook Marketplace, and it's for like say you were on Facebook Marketplace and you wanted to purchase a couch from somebody, and they didn't have a truck and you didn't have a truck, and like you wanted it, they weren't able to deliver, you weren't able to pick it up. So there's an app that as like, if you're using it as a side hustle, you can go and sign up for it, and basically you go and pick up the large item or whatever and deliver it to the person that bought it. So
There's a lot of
there's
options.
so many different ideas out there. The ones that we predominantly take part in are DoorDash and Instacart. And Leandra actually brought those into the relationship. She was kind of dipping and dabbling in those side hustles a little bit prior to us getting together. And I saw that they had really good potential. And so that's what we've been doing, mostly Instacart, and we use that to, like you said, to help finance the business. We have other income streams, but that's the one that we actually have control over. You can work as much or as little as you want. You can even pick which, they call them batches, the orders that come in. You can pick and choose which ones you want to take. It'll tell you how far the customer is. So it gives you a lot of control over, what exactly you're doing, how much time you're spending on it, how much time you're spending on each order, how much you're actually driving your car, how many miles and how much gas you're using, and how much money that you make at the end of the day. And so we kind of set a goal of like a monthly goal, or break it down to weekly and even daily sometimes, of what we would like to bring in through those side hustles. And some days it's easier than others. But and we also, it's scheduling is another thing, and budgeting our time, because if you spend all the time in the side hustle, you have the finances to help build your business, but you don't have the time, so you really have to budget. But did you want to add anything, because you were doing it prior?
Yeah, so I started doing the side hustle thing right after I got out of the military. I developed a lot of mental health issues that didn't allow me to maintain a normal 9 to 5 job. So having something where it could work around whatever schedule I had, and just like the skill set that it was able to give me versus like working that regular 9 to 5 job, about people and about how to manage your own schedule, and things like that, which becomes really handy for aspiring entrepreneurs. I also am an aspiring entrepreneur. I want to have my own stationery business for inspiring women, and that's that's my dream. But yeah, so I like it. I enjoy it. I feel like it is good. It brings in revenue, and it's just a really good learning experience. So yeah, when we first met, I introduced it to him and he was like, I want to do this. So I was like, okay, let's do it. And then we started getting on the road and getting it done. And it's been a up and down. I don't know if it's the economy or what, but as he said before, the tipping is becoming an issue. And I think the batch pay actually got low as well, for speaking in terms of the Instacart. Well, actually in DoorDash, but yeah. So
Yeah, when it's funny because we had set our financial goals probably three months ago, and things things go up and down as the economy goes up and down.
Mhm.
And yeah, we did notice with the apps that they were, I don't know if they're really decreasing the pay, but we noticed a few months ago they'll have things that they call like a boost, where they'll say, hey, between this hour and this location, we'll add $1 to every order, or $2 to every order, and it helps give you, incentive to get out there and do the deliveries. And we've seen a lot less of that. And then they do compensate a little bit for mileage, but a lot of the orders that we take tend to be, it could be up to like 40 miles round trips. A lot of them are like 15 to 20 miles away. And so when you factor in, paying for gas and the mileage you're putting on your car and the service that you have to do accordingly, um, there's expenses involved to it. And I didn't really think about that when we went into it. And I don't know if other people put a lot of thought into that, or if that's more of like a learning curve. But it's definitely something you have to factor in. And so if we have a day where we make, say, $140 by the end of the day doing Instacart, and we had to put gas in the car, you'd have to take $40 off of that. And, so our, our net revenue would be $100 for the day. So there's a lot of things to take into account when you're budgeting your time. The thing about using it as like a source of revenue to help build my business is, the thing that can get tricky is really balancing your time. I mentioned scheduling and having like a routine set. And so the business, it's more of like an investment. You're putting money into it. It may be bringing money in a little bit right now, or maybe it's not yet. But it's an investment. And when things go according to plan, that you'll get that investment back. But it's not something that you're getting money passively from right away. The business that I'm building right now, it's not bringing money in passively right now. So the side hustles, they do. And Instacart, you can choose as often as you want to get paid out. You can get paid out after each order that you do. You can get paid out daily, weekly. We typically do it either daily or every other day. So it can get a little tempting to want to put the majority of your time into that, because you're seeing returns from that, right away. And then, so you have the revenue, you have the financial support that you need to put into your business. But when you want to continuously just, do the side hustle, do the side hustle, do the side hustle, and you're not putting as much time into your business as you need or that you scheduled, now you're kind of scrambling, because you're missing, like time budgets that you set, where I want to have this done by this time. I want to have the website up and running by this time. And if you're putting all your time in the side hustle, you're not going to meet those goals. So it's very helpful, but you definitely have to have a balance. You have to keep a balance.
Which I think we're good at.
Yeah. Her more so than me, but.
So what advice would you give people who are just starting? So you said there's like Instacart, there's DoorDash, and maybe a few other companies that people could also work for and make that side money. What is the main thing that people should think about before they get into this? And what are the things that could be really challenging or overwhelming doing this?
Right. So I would, there's a few things. Like if I were to go back when we started, what I would do is I would write out a few lists and sort through my thoughts and everything. I would do like a strengths and weaknesses kind of list, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? Also, how do I prefer to spend my time? Now, I know I can't just go out and, go to the beach and make money. Not yet anyways. So I have to choose from what's available. So I would say the first step, do your research and see what's out there. There is so much more than just DoorDash or Instacart or Uber. That's another one. Those main side hustles that most people know about. There is so much more than those. They have apps for like handymen or handy women who they can fix pretty much anything. And so people will post on this app that, hey, my faucet in my sink is dripping and I need somebody to come fix it. And so you can take those like orders, if you will, and go and fix whatever it is, and you'll get paid accordingly based on what the job is. There's like I mentioned, the delivery side hustle where people buy things from OfferUp or Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist, and then you can get dispatched to go pick up those items. And the thing with that one also is you don't have to have a truck to do that. They pair people. They have people that sign up that have trucks, and then people that sign up that don't have trucks, and they'll pair them together so they can go out. Because usually for the larger items, it takes two people anyways, and they'll pair the people up and they'll get compensated accordingly. So I would say, do your research and see what's out there. You'll be surprised at how much, how many options you have for doing a side hustle. And then once you compile a list, go through and think about, yourself, what could you see yourself enjoy doing the most? If you absolutely cannot stand grocery shopping, you're probably not going to want to do Instacart. No. Maybe doing the delivery thing, the heavy furniture, large item delivery thing might be better for you. If you know that you have really terrible road rage, maybe Uber's not the best choice. So you compile a list of what's out there, go through and think about what your strengths and weaknesses are, and play on that and use that to your advantage. And if you can find something that correlates with one of your strengths or many of your strengths, you'll be even that much more successful at it. And then also, usually your strengths will kind of correlate with things that you enjoy doing more so than not. If you're doing something that you're really good at and that you enjoy doing, one, it's not going to feel so much like work, and two, you will be more successful. So I would kind of do both of those first. Look at what's available and look at what you would prefer to do and what you'd be better at, and then make a decision based off of that. There's also, you're not just limited to like what's offered to you through apps and websites either. You can get really creative and you can do your own side hustle. I mentioned with my business, one of the things that we want to do this year is go out to different fitness events and fairs. If you're crafty and you can make little trinkets and jewelry and whatnot, you can easily go out to, you can go to fairs, they have different events. A lot of times cities and towns will have not like a farmer's market, but like an open market where people can just go and they can sell their items that they make or anything. You can sell it online even, and then you could start seeing something possibly growing from a side hustle to even a scaled business. But get really creative. If you go out and you do some research and you see all the different side hustles that are offered, and you're just not inspired by any of them, do something yourself. Start a podcast. Even like there are just so many things, and those are the things that in my experience when I've gone out, I mean, if you think about it, when you see, you know, little kids having a lemonade stand on the side of the road, that's a side hustle. And they're learning really early on, like the traits of entrepreneurship. And you see those kids and you see their face light up every time somebody buys a glass of lemonade, and it's just a quarter, you know, but they're the most excited kid in the world at that point. And so you know, when you're able to do something on your own that you created, that's a passion of yours, it even gives you that much more fulfillment too. But if you have an idea as well that of something that you want to start or do as a side hustle, but maybe you're not quite so sure how to go about starting it, or you need resources, you can always do one of the offered side hustles and bring in a little bit of revenue or financial support. And then, you know, you can start your side hustle. You can start it at any time. There's not really like any rules to like what you can and can't do, other than what the rules of the actual companies align for you while you're doing that. But as far as like choosing what you want to do, there's no real rules to it, you know.
The other thing that I wanted to ask you, and you mentioned it a little bit earlier, is about time management, and that you can get sidetracked. Is that the right expression for like when you lose sight of what you're doing because you're trying to manage all those side hustles and then focus on your business? So how do you manage all that and manage to stay productive?
Yeah, it gets tricky sometimes, and there's different reasons for losing sight of your time management. So for me, what I find with me, more so than other things, is I'll get caught up in like, hey, you know, especially if we're having a good day and we're doing well, I'll say, you know, let's just do it for one more hour. Let's just take one more order. And then that 1 hour will turn into 2 more hours. And, you know, because when you're doing well, like you don't want to stop. And there's pros to that and there's cons to that. And I wouldn't tell anybody like just absolutely don't do that. I would say prioritize first. And if the reason why you had set a time budget and a schedule, if the reason is very important, stick to that budget, because that's not going to be the only time that you're going out and doing the side hustle and doing well. You'll have many times where you can go out and do well and have a successful day. So yeah, that's the that's the main one that I struggle with, is like, ooh, you know, it's a good day. I want to keep this going as long as possible. I can also get caught up in, if we set like say 5 days, we want to do Instacart 5 days this week for a minimum of 4 hours a day. And our financial goal is X amount. I'll kind of lose sight of that sometimes as well, and think like, okay, so if we're setting this as a goal and we need 20 hours to make that in, well, if we work for 30 hours, we can make even more. Which is, it's great, but you know, at some point I have to use my time wisely for my business as well. And I know Leondra, pretty much when 7 o'clock hits is when I know she's thinking she wants to go home. She's starting to get hungry, and a little bit tired, and I am too. But I can go. And for her, you know, when the day's over, it's over. Let's go relax. And so I'll know that, you know, she'll give me a look, or or she'll ask me, "Did you take another one?" That okay, I think the night's got to be over. So yeah, but the other thing to that is, you know, that's mostly for when times are going really good, and you want to keep that rhythm going and bring in more money and capitalize off that day as much as you can. But then there's the times where things aren't going so good. And so what goes along with these side hustles when you're working through an app is like technical difficulties. You know, you could be going through somewhere where you don't have service. For us, Instacart, you know, when we're in a grocery store, a lot of times my service will drop out at different groceries if you're in the back of the store or whatever. And then I have to go and walk up to the front of the store, hold my phone, and you know, all those things to get the service back. And it takes up a lot of your time. Also, sometimes, so for alcohol orders in particular, they're very strict on how to go about doing those. You have to, you know, some grocery orders you can just leave at the door and let the customer pick them up when they want. But for alcohol orders, for instance, you have to meet the customer, you have to scan their ID, make sure you know they're of age. You have to abide by the laws. And so sometimes, not often, but sometimes the customers don't, they're not 100% clear on that we have to do that. And they might think, you know, people have left groceries at the front door, so they can just leave that there too. So there's been times where we've been on the delivery and, you know, I need to scan the person's ID, but they're not answering the door, or they're not home, or, you know, for whatever reason, I can't get a hold of them. And then that really throws a stick in our spokes. And now we have to get a hold of like customer support. And then we have to return those items to the store. And that takes a lot of time. You know, the last time that happened, what did it take, like 2 hours almost?
For 2 hours, yeah, because they never turn it on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we went all the way to the person's house. We had to go all the way back to the store, return the items. We were on the phone with the support people for the whole time. And something happened with the app in the process where the app didn't quite know what was going on and what we were doing. And so we had to explain everything over the phone. And then eventually what happened was we got locked out of the app for a day because of all the confusion. And eventually it got settled. But you know, when that happened, now in my mind, I'm thinking like, okay, we need to make up for that time that we lost. So the next day or for the next few days, now instead of doing it for 4 hours a day or 5 hours a day, I'm thinking like we need to work 10 hours today on Instacart. Which going back, if I could do it again, I would not have done that. I would have, you know, taken it in stride. Things happen. You're not going to have a day go perfectly every day. Things are going to come up, and you have to deal with it the best that you can, and continue to try to stick to your schedule and your time budget. And then aside from that, when it's just, you know, that's kind of an example of a more extreme, you know, situation going wrong. But you have, you know, like I said, when the service drops out, or you take a wrong turn on the way to the customer's house. I do that a lot. You know, different things that they're not like major issues, but they're things that will take up your time. And so, and because you try to set like even a micro scale time budget, like, okay, this order should take us 30 minutes. And then if it ends up taking an hour and 10 minutes, now in my mind, I'm thinking like, okay, so I need to take that extra 40 minutes and put it on the back end of what we had planned on doing today, which also isn't, for our purposes, it's not the best way to go about doing it. Again, it's, you know, take that lost time in stride and just keep moving and do the best you can with the rest of the time that you have. So there's a lot of learning curves to it, and there's going to be situations come up along the way that are new. You'll constantly have new situations come up that are going to take up time that you hadn't set aside for that particular order or for that particular day. And it's kind of the situation kind of has to dictate. If you really feel like you need to make up for that time and you can afford to do it, then it may not be a bad thing. But if you have other things scheduled, if you have other responsibilities, if you have like a business that you need to also budget your time into, I would say try to stick to your schedule, and as long as you keep doing that and moving forward, the things that you lost, the time that you lost, the few dollars that you lost, correcting the wrong turn that you made, you'll make up for it. It'll all work itself out.
Yeah, because life is like we plan and plan. We like to plan things, organize things, but then life happens and your plans go to waste. So yeah, you have to, I think you need to have some sort of flexibility when you have your own business. And even if you don't have your own business, just in life in general, you have to be flexible with things.
Yeah.
Something that I wanted to ask you, you mentioned tips and tipping. And I find this like very interesting. We really need to discuss the tipping culture that we have in the business world. Or like not even like just servers like in restaurants or things like that, but also it's tipping everywhere. You're expected to tip everywhere. What is your take on that?
So
we're really good tippers. Whenever we go somewhere and someone's providing a service, we don't take that for granted. Like, we're thankful and we show that through tipping. And so when we don't, I guess you can go from there.
Well, so they call it gratuity, right?
Yeah.
And it's basically when you tip, you're showing your gratitude for the service that you received. My whole thing, the way that I see it is, when I go out to a restaurant, I'm not what I'm paying for. I'm not paying for the food, because I can go to the grocery store and get the food and make it myself. I'm paying for the experience. I'm paying for the service. I'm paying for the opportunity to sit down, have a dinner where I don't have to cook it, make it, prepare it, wash dishes, everything. And so the restaurant offers that experience where you can go have a nice dinner, and not have the extra responsibilities that go along with it. And so, you're paying the bill that you get, you're paying for the food, but usually that bill doesn't include paying for the service that you received. A lot of times, like for instance, servers, I did it for a short while and I didn't get a paycheck. Literally the only money I made was through tips, and that was at a corporate restaurant. I think my hourly wage was like $2 an hour, and then it just went to taxes. So I literally relied on tips. And then so for like the side hustles with I think you can tip on Uber now. And then DoorDash and Instacart. Basically, you're not going on the app, and when you order something, you're not paying the fee that you're paying. It's not for the item that you're ordering. The fee that you're paying is for the service and the convenience. And so there's different situations. There are some situations where the server or the service worker relies solely on tips. And then there's situations where they may get a percentage of whatever pay or a small hourly rate, and then the tip, basically at that point I base off of level of service. So this person that's providing us with a service, well, essentially this is their job. When we're out doing a side hustle, in that moment, that's our job. And we take a lot of pride in the service that we give people. When you're on the app, a lot of times things that people order, the store may be out of. So you have an opportunity, you can replace it with another item, or you can offer a refund. But I always try to be very communicative. I really communicate with the customer on, hey, look, they don't have this, but they do have this, this, and this. Would you be interested in any of those? Or look, I'm sorry, they don't have any of the item that you ordered. The only option I can think of is a refund, unless you'd like to replace it with a completely different item. So I'm very thorough in my communication. Also, you're given a certain amount of time based on how many items. The app, the company behind the app expects you to finish the order in a given amount of time. And so my goal is always to beat that time. I want to finish, I want to have the shopping done and delivered before the basically before the app told the customer they can expect it. If the app says, you know, your order should be arriving between 45 minutes and an hour and 15 minutes. If I can get it there in 40 minutes or 35 minutes, you know, that's what I'm shooting for. I'm trying to kind of go above and beyond. So the communication, the replacements that I offer the customer, the speed and efficiency at which we do it, and then the actual delivery process when we get to the house. You know, sometimes they have directions, they have very clear directions, you know, bring it to the front door, don't ring the doorbell. People have dogs a lot of times, so they're pretty specific, and I'll be sure to follow those directions to the T. I do think that there unfortunately are a lot of people in that provide the service that sometimes will overlook those little instructions, and you know, it may be as simple as requesting not to ring the doorbell, and then they ring the doorbell, not realizing that they have dogs, and here they go. And so I try to pay close attention to what the customer's needs are, and then go above and beyond where I can. There's a lot of times where there's people who either just got a surgery, or they may be handicapped. People sometimes are in wheelchairs, or they're disabled, whatever the case is. And in those cases, as long as the customer's comfortable with it and feels safe, you know, we'll offer to bring them into their house, put them wherever they need us to do it, just to make it easier for them. And so for that, we have a really high rating on our side hustle. And we have a lot of compliments, and they can give you like little stars in different areas of work. So we have a really high rating, and we also notice that the customers, I would say maybe 40% of the time, increase the tip. Yeah, so that's another thing that you have the ability to do on these apps, is when you put your order in, you know, you give your credit card number or whatever, and you pay for the group of items that you have, and then you can pick an amount that you want to tip. And then beyond that, after the order is finished, you have 2 hours after the order is completed to lower the tip or completely take it away. And then I think you have like 14 days or something to raise the tip. So you have control over how you tip and how much you tip, and what you base that tip off of. You have complete control as a customer. I know right now there's a lot of there's a lot of debates going on as to, well, why would I include a tip before I get the service? And you know, that's not how it works when you go out to eat. And the answer basically is, you know, you don't have to, but if you do, you do have the option to change it, if your tipping is service based. So basically, to answer your question, when we go out to a restaurant, or we go somewhere where somebody is providing us a service, I usually tip based off of the service that I get. So, you know, like what that person is doing in that moment, they're getting compensated for it, so that's their job. And usually there's like minimum requirements that are expected of you, and so if you complete those minimum basic requirements, you don't do any less, you don't do any more, then I'm usually tipping between 15 and 20%. I think that's kind of like the average of what people say you should tip. But if there's a time when somebody goes much beyond, or they're just very friendly. You can tell they really try to relate with their customers. I'll tip much more than 20%, because I want that person to know that, like the word gratuity, we are grateful for the service they provided. And, if they went above and beyond, we know they didn't have to do that. And so we want to just let them know, we appreciate that. And it's encouraging, when they get a tip that's a little bit more than 20%, it tells them they did a good job, and it tells them that you appreciate it. And it kind of helps reinforce maybe that behavior again, that level of service again. And then the same goes on the other side when, you don't get the service that you would expect, or the basic needs or requirements aren't met. I don't think it's absurd to tip less than 15 or 20%. Of course, the situation will dictate. People make mistakes and things happen and places get busy, and those kinds of things, I'm empathetic to. But if somebody just if they don't care, for instance, it's going to be reflected in the tip. So yeah, when we're doing the side hustles, basically, we're providing a service, a level of convenience for the people that don't want to or can't go and pick up the groceries or whatever item it is they order themselves. We do that for them. And because we really try to provide exemplary service and really take pride in it, it's a little upsetting when somebody doesn't tip. It actually makes you feel like, did I do something wrong? Did I upset this person? Did I say something in the messaging that could have been taken differently? And you really start questioning yourself.
So talking about delivery and tipping, and I just got my coffee maker. So
Thanks.
Yay! We love coffee here.
Awesome. Yeah.
I love coffee, and there is a coffee machine there, but usually when you use like the press coffee machine, it makes the coffee really strong, and I drink coffee all day long, so I can't drink. I have like a drip coffee maker, like the regular ones, the cheap ones, and it'll make coffee. It'll be light.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Drink it all day long.
There you go.
Yeah. So we were talking about tipping, and I agree that the level of service determines what the tip is.
Right.
I think in different countries, the tipping culture is a little bit different.
Yeah.
But since we live in this country and we have certain rules, like, and unfortunately, like the service, for example, they don't get paid enough, like under minimum wage. And even if it was minimum wage, that's still not enough to live on.
Right.
So therefore, the only thing that people can count on is the tip. So I think when people don't leave any tip, it's kind of like, it's weird. It's like counterproductive to the society, to the community that we live in.
Yeah.
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 The video that we posted ended up getting close to, I think, 40,000 views and about 1,000 comments. It was very interesting to see other people's perspective on it. Obviously, providing a service, we go in with the understanding that everyone's had different experiences with other people who do the same thing we're doing, or with similar services. So, but we have so much confidence in like ourselves and the service that we provide, that for there not to be a solid baseline for the gratuity, right? Did I say right? For the gratuity, it's like, it's kind of degrading sometimes to see that go on. So, but like you said, it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
Yes, you were saying?
The one thing I wanted to add is for like when you go out to eat to a restaurant that provides service, there's usually like an underlying understanding of at the end of the meal, I'm going to get the bill, and then I can leave a tip accordingly.
Correct.
With the apps like DoorDash and Instacart, that I think there also should be a little bit of responsibility on the app as well, because sometimes it's a little unclear. Um, and like Leandra said in that video that we posted, there was a lot of debate going on between the people that offered the service and the people that received the service, and there was good points made on each end. Um, and one of the points that the customers made was, I tip after the delivery is made or after I receive the service.
Really?
Yeah, and I mean that's completely acceptable. The thing about the app though, and from what we see, is when we take the order, it just says no tip. And so like it's confusing, and it could be kind of misconstrued even, where the driver, the delivery person, sees that and thinks like, oh, they're just not going to tip.
Yeah.
When a lot of times people do wait and tip at the end, which is perfectly acceptable. But I just wish there was a way where the app could clarify that. So like, even if it was just an option, if they had a drop down menu where it offered how much you wanted to leave a tip, if you could put a percentage amount of the bill, a dollar amount, you could put no tip, or you could put like will tip when complete or something. So that way the driver knows like, okay, they're not just not tipping, they want to wait, and it's basically based off of my service.
Yeah.
And I think if that was understood on both ends, you'd see a lot better service, because people would understand, okay, I'm going to be compensated with gratuity based on the level of service that I provide. So it'll give them more incentive to provide a higher level of service. So I think there is a level of responsibility that lies with the apps. And I think they could do a little bit of a better job clarifying that on both ends. Because as a customer, you see, you don't want to, if you have an order that's $100, and typically when you go and you receive a service, you say you tip 20%. Well, that's $20, and you don't want to just give $20 off the start, not knowing if you're going to receive good service, not knowing if they're going to bring the delivery to the proper address even.
So here I just want to ask you something, because this happened to me a few times. I order like food, grocery, like I order a lot for delivery. And sometimes what happens is they say that I get the notification it's delivered. I go outside, there's nothing.
Yeah.
And then one time it happened to me, August, I think, or September last year. I ordered something, Instacart actually, and it said it was delivered, and I went out, there was nothing. I came back, I called them, and they were like, oh no, it was delivered, and we have a picture. And they sent me a picture, like a proof that it was delivered. It's right at the door, but it's not my door.
Right.
And then it turned out to be they delivered to a different address.
Yeah.
So I don't even know. Like, I didn't tip because I was really mad about that.
Right. You shouldn't. Yeah.
What would you do?
Yeah. So I would. So we are customers also. We get DoorDash, and we order Instacart as well. And there have absolutely been times where usually she's in control of doing the order, and I'll tell her, you need to either take some of the tip away or take the tip away. For instance, we had a similar experience where we ordered a few groceries, and the driver brought the groceries, but we only got half of what we ordered. So there were a lot of things missing. And so we didn't leave a tip because that's the responsibility of the worker. That's the basic required tasks. Those are the basic expectations.
And it really sucks for us because like we do a really good job. Like we're really thorough. We make sure it's the right address. We cross-search, like we make sure everything from the list is on there. If there's a replacement, we speak to the customer in the chat before we just replace it. And so it really sucks for us who are like really good at our job to be having like other people doing really bad work and like making a reputation for us when it's not really fair. But I'm sorry about your negative experiences. That's
oh no, not all of it. I mean, like, it's just like maybe like once in a while, like every
Yeah.
3 months, something like that would happen. So no, it's not something on regular basis that happens. But one thing that I do wish those apps gives us the opportunity or the choice, like if somebody was really good and they delivered and over delivered, I'd want to have them always like deliver
Oh yeah.
groceries. I wish
Yeah.
we had that choice.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree with that 100%. We've talked about that before.
Yeah. Yeah, we've had people, because we do it so often, we have been to a few people's houses on multiple occasions. We've had really positive experiences with customers where we'll meet them at the door and we'll have a short conversation and it'll be a really positive experience. And they'll even mention like, I hope I get you guys again. I wish I could like, put it in there that I want, but because it's like, because of how it's set up and you put the order and then the order just goes out. I'm sure there's a way they could do that. And I think that would definitely help. That's kind of that's a part of a lot of businesses where you'll have regular customers, or as a customer, you'll have your guy that you go to or your girl that you go to. And like I'm sure you don't want just anybody doing your hair or your a lot of times you have a positive experience and you want to go back. And as shoppers, we just enjoy providing a positive experience, and we enjoy having these positive interactions with customers, and we would love to be able to like be their specific shopper. And then the service can grow on that too, because then you get familiar with how they want their order delivered, the front or the back, or what replacements they prefer if they're out of something. And the more you can get to know your customer, the better service you can provide. And then the customer is more confident that they're going to receive good service. And it is unfortunate that that there are those times where you get less than satisfactory service. If somebody and that happens, it does happen much more than it should, where deliveries are dropped off at the wrong address, and that's just something so simple to pay attention to. Getting the house number right, and sometimes it can be a little difficult to see the house number at night, but that's that's our job as a shopper, as a delivery person, to just pay a little closer attention. And like I mentioned earlier, sometimes there will be specific instructions for customers, and making sure you read those and you abide by those, because usually there's good reason for it. So yeah, that all will be reflected in a shopper's tip. And if there is a shopper that's providing less than satisfactory service, I don't think they should be too surprised, and I don't think they have much of a right to be offended if they get a less than satisfactory tip, because I think that's what the culture is based off of, is they correlate with each other.
Now here's something I want to ask you. Like you mentioned shopper, and I immediately was thinking personal shopper. Like for rich people, there's a personal shopper who will go and buy like the fashion for them and stuff for them. So is that like, I don't know if a lot of people do that, or like if people can actually, instead of going through Instacart or DoorDash or those corporate, just like, I don't like Uber, for example. I know for sure, because I know a few people. I Uber a lot, I don't drive. And I know for sure that Uber makes you sign with them that you're not allowed to solicit to the passengers anything.
Oh, right.
You're not even
Oh, yeah.
allowed to give them a business card or anything like that.
Yep.
That I know, because I asked. I don't know what the situation is with those companies that deliver like groceries. Would you be able to do something like that?
So it does depend on the company that you're working for. Like for instance, you mentioned Uber, so they'll have a no compete clause, and usually you'll see that in the contract. And in signing that, like you said, you're agreeing to not basically not be a competitor with the app that you're working for. And sometimes it'll even say in there, you're signing this, agreeing that you won't provide the same service outside of this app, and that you also won't provide the same service outside of this app for up to a year after doing it. So yeah, that's something that the company itself does, to kind of protect themselves from more competitors coming into the market. But we actually mentioned that the other day, yesterday or the day before, even, where I had that idea. We've played with the idea of like a personal concierge service, even creating our own app, where we can offer, like personal shopping for people, or picking up items that people need to have mailed, or dry cleaning, or just basic laundry services. Just basically like any task that you need, or any item you need picked up from the store, just like, so that anybody in the general public can have a personal assistant, and they can pick and choose when they have it and for what they need it for. Kind of like a DoorDash or an Instacart for anything and everything.
I don't know if something like this exists, but you can name it Butler.
Yeah, exactly.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. But that also goes along
cool.
with being creative. You can easily set something like that up, even if it's not on an app. You can post flyers and make business cards, or just word of mouth. There's a website, I think it's Neighbors or Neighborhood or something, and you can go and it's basically like an online bulletin board for your geographical region that you live in. But we've been asked through through customers if they could request us, and through the app they can't. But we played with the idea of like, hey, what if we just offered this service on our own outside of the app? And that way, we have our customers that we work for, and they have their shopper that do the shopping for them. Unfortunately for us, we just don't have any more time in our schedule to do something like that. But as long as there's not a no compete clause in whatever contract you're signing, that's definitely something that somebody could think about doing. If somebody out there is, also providing exemplary service, and they take a lot of pride in what they do, and they enjoy what they do, and they have lots of positive experiences with customers, I would encourage people to do that, and build up your own side hustle and possibly business. There's a lot of opportunity there.
Well, thank you so much, James. Thank you so much, Leondra. This was really interesting. I love the topic, and I think we touched up on a lot of things, and hopefully people will engage with this conversation and get something out of it. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, and thank you for having us.